You're looking at footage that has been declassified by the U.S. military and put out there to show the people that we have some visitors or some technology floating around out there of which they say they can't explain. Now, this could be a foreign military, this could be extraterrestrial, so to speak, or the fallen technology out there observing, but this is one of the latest clips that they've dropped. And for those that don't know, earlier this year, the Pentagon was ordered by Trump to start making drops here, tranches, as they say, of UFO files. We had in May the Department of War releasing a video of a fighter jet shooting down a UFO, which was the first we had ever seen. And still, the sheep out there don't seem to be understanding what's going on here. The Pentagon earlier this year began releasing files related to the UFOs after Trump said, start to drop them. In the second batch, a video was released of an F-16 fighter jet shooting down a UFO over Lake Huron, Michigan in February of 2023. It was shot down during the Chinese spy balloon incident. Okay, and then we were never told exactly what they recovered. Well, now we know. The government's coming out and saying this. It was a UFO or UAP they shot down. Okay, that's pretty big. And last month, the Pentagon released a fourth batch, and within it, they had 40 new declassified files. Now, in that, some of the footage we just looked at of this ball flying around, you have Air Force veterans and people that were on the ground there saying it's unlike anything they've ever seen. In 28 years of service, they've seen a lot of wild stuff, but this thing came in over the base, as you guys saw, and just did whatever it wanted. It was a perfect ball or orb, went wherever it wanted on a dime, and then just took off, exited. But it intruded the airspace of the base, which is a huge concern for the military. So they had a big briefing about this, and now eventually it's been released. Now, that's dealing with that in the whole trove of information that they're dropping. I don't think that the American people out there are really going to bite on this until they see an entity, to be honest with you, the fallen, that's been here the whole time. But the image on your right there is a curious image as well. That one right there is being said to be either a cloud or a cloaked UFO. You take your pick. But a lot of debate was surrounding this one on the right. Over the mountains in Canmore, Alberta, Canada, taken on August 2nd, this saucer-shaped formation. Some say when they mess with the contrast and they zoom in and everything, there's a perfect disc at the heart of it. And everyone's got their own opinion. Here is a look at that, zoomed in and kind of tweaked with the imagery. That's what you find at the heart. Not sure what was getting off this solid ball of light. This was also talk. Look at the round ball that's right there on the cloud. Well, it's not the sun right there on the cloud. I'm not sure what that is, but an interesting shot nonetheless, even if it's just a cloud. But could be more. If you guys got clips like this, let me know. Dabu7@yahoo.com. I try to share them on the live stream and cover them. Going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, eyes to the skies.
All right. I want to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching us this truth. And I want to say shalom to the brothers and sisters that are in this truth. Shalom. All right, so you saw that video right there. And, this lesson is going to go into, heaven's army. All right, because that's what you're witnessing. And unbeknownst to the world, all right, to the rest of the people, even the 2/3 that are not in this council, okay, still haven't figured out and won't figure out that this is the, the host, the heavenly army. All right. They don't understand that these are the angels. Okay. And going to show you, right, that these are also signs of the heavens, okay, that the end is almost here. All right. And you saw how he said on the right picture, there was like a so-called UFO cloaked inside of the cloud. All right. And that's how Yahweh Shai is coming. But understand that these are the angels, all right, spying out the land. Okay. And through faith, we believe that. Okay. These chariots are, described in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, in depth. The elders, the apostles, the elders, and all the men that believe in this 100% truth, through GMS, have done a lot of lessons on the chariots of the Lord, all right, which would be the so-called UFOs, okay? And I'm going to get real quick the book of Revelation, okay, chapter 1, all right, in verse 7, okay, because like I said, you saw on the right side of the video, there was a picture of a so-called UFO cloaked inside of a cloud, all right? So in Revelations 1 and chapter 7, it says, "Behold, he cometh with clouds." Who is he? Yahweh Shai, okay? The one that the world ignorantly calls Jesus, okay? So behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, okay? You see that? Comes with clouds. And this is talking about a chariot, okay? The Lord's not literally gonna be floating on top of a cloud, okay? This is talking about the chariots, right? And you seen in that right side of that picture, it looked like a cloud, but there was something in it cloaked, okay? You see? And that's the UFO, right? The so-called UFO, the chariots, right? And they also which pierced him, Salaki, I'm going to read that again. "Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him," okay, which would be the Romans, right, from ancient Rome. Well, guess what? We're in the revised Roman Empire, and they're back again, okay? That's what you call reincarnation, and yes, reincarnation is biblical, all right? "And all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen." So the point is, right, that these clouds, right, that you might question and say, hey, that look like a UFO or whatnot, it's because it is a so-called UFO. But in reality, is the chariots of the Lord, okay? Heaven's army, all right? And like I said, they're spying out the land, all right? Because Esau's end is almost here, all right? And just the way that, the Lord is preparing the kings of the East, right? And preparing, all these nations to gather up for World War III. And that's going to take place in the valley of Jehoshaphat, all right? Out there where you call the Middle East, okay? These angels are also, all right, getting ready, okay? They're getting ready to they're preparing for battle, what we would call Armageddon, all right? And to show you that Yahweh Shai is coming back, right, with the host of angels, all right? We can get that in the book of Psalms, chapter 68 and verse 17. And it reads, "The chariots of Yahweh are 20,000. You see that? Even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place." All right? So what you're seeing, like I said, is these angels getting ready, okay? These are the eyes of the Lord, and they're spying out the land. Just like we spied out Jericho, okay? And right now we're spiritually taking down the walls of Jericho, okay? But soon the overthrow of America and these other heathen nations are going to come to pass, because it's all part of prophecy, all right? So while everybody is talking about an alien invasion, okay, we know there's going to be an invasion, but this ain't going to be no green men or gray-headed, gray men with big heads and black eyes, all right, and skinny long fingers. No, all right, this is going to be Yahushua, right, and the angels, okay, being led by Michael, all right, to come make war, all right, to overthrow this wicked rulership in order for Yahushua to sit on the throne, okay, which was his from the beginning. All right, but prophecy had to play out, and this is what we are witnessing right now. Okay, prophecy playing out. All right, there's a saying in the world, right, that the truth is stranger than fiction. Well, where would you find UFOs? Right, you would find them in fictional movies, so-called fictional books. Okay, you see, and this is what they do. They try to demonize the truth in order for you not to be aware of what's really going on. Okay? But this isn't fiction. This is truth. You see, them chariots are real. Them UFOs, what you call UFOs, are real. Right? Non-believers are going to say, well, if they are real, then we're going to be facing the Anunnaki. Right? Or the Greys. Right? Or some bugged out, name, the lizard people or whatever. All right, but they don't understand that they're about to be judged. Okay, they're about to be judged along with the so-called white man and these other heathen nations for not believing in this truth. All right, as it says in the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, right? The Lord has sent a strong delusion, and that is through Christianity. All right, that you might believe a lie, right? And that's that lie that's being presented to you, okay? That this is not real, and if it is, okay, it's aliens that are coming to invade, all right, the earth. All right, no, it's Yahweh Shai, okay, coming to bring judgment upon the earth, okay? So that brings me, let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 19. We're going to start at verse 11. It says, and I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. Okay, and horse represents power. All right. And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true. Okay, that's Yahweh Shai. And in righteousness he does judge and make war. You see, and that's what he's coming to do. He's coming to make war and to judge. All right. The 2/3 and the heathens, starting with Esau. His eyes were as a flame of fire. Okay, and that's you find that in Revelations chapter 1 and verse 14. And on his head were many crowns, right? Because that represents him taking out this current rulership, all right, which has many kings. Okay, the EU, okay, NATO, all right, them 10 horns, okay, and the 7 heads, all right. And it says, and he had a name written, which goes into his rank, that no man knew but he himself. Right, because there's nobody above Yahweh Shai but Yahweh. Okay? And he was clothed with a vesture, dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. Okay? This is Yahweh Shai. Again, and this is symbolic, okay, to all the bloodshed. Okay? Because he's not going to be literally dipped in blood, okay? That means he's going to bring a lot of bloodshed when he comes to judge and make war. And that, you can find that, all right, in Isaiah chapter 63. And he's coming to make war with Esau, okay? But all these other nations are going to join Esau, okay, in the midst of World War III. All right, so when you go to Isaiah 63, it utters these same words, all right? It says, in the armies, here it is, right? Psalm 68 and 17. And the armies which were in heaven, okay, followed him upon white horses. Okay, these are the angels, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. You see, and that's what you're seeing right now. All this UFO talk, all these things cloaked and orbs flying around and whatnot. These are the angels. All right. As I said many times, spying out the land. Okay. It says, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress. Right? Again, going back to Isaiah 63. And of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yahweh. And he has on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right? Because that's his rank, man. The Lord is the rightful king of this earth that was given all power and dominion over the earth by Yahweh, the Heavenly Father. Okay? And where do you find, all right, this great war that is going to happen? Okay? With the heavenly army, with the fathership that's coming, that Yahweh Shai is going to be coming upon, right? When we go to the book of 2nd Ezra, okay, and these things right here are above the pay grade of these goddamn Christians, okay? That's why they can never tap into prophecy, all right? All these things that are happening around us, all right? And all they could talk about is the virgin birth, the Gentiles, okay, and Yahweh Shai being Yahweh, all right? That's their 3 talking points, which is boring already. Shit is boring. It's like a nagging wife saying the same shit all the time. Pick up your shoes. Oh, why is this? Why'd you leave the seat cover up or whatnot? Same old bullshit all the time. You're just tired of hearing it. You know, you see your wife coming through. You already know. You already know what to expect. That's the same shit you feel when you see a Christian coming. All right, what topic is he going to talk about? The Gentiles, right? Yahweh Shai being Yahweh, or the virgin birth, right? They never could tap into prophecy or go into what's going on, unless they dismiss this as all AI and say, well, that shit is fake. That was, but they have no clue what's going on. They don't understand that's heaven's army. They don't understand World War III prophecies, okay? And Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, all right, coming with the angels to destroy these nations, okay? All they talk about is saving everybody, as if that was what the Lord intended from the beginning. If that's what the Lord intended from the beginning, God loved everybody, right? God is all love. So why do you have a doctrine where you condemning billions of people into a place called hell? See, you people make no sense. You guys have no idea what is going on. All right? You guys are going to get caught by surprise. All right? When you see these chariots showing up. All right? And for your lack of knowledge, okay, a lot of people are going to die on the spot from fear. All right? The hearts of men shall melt, as the scripture says in the book of Isaiah chapter 13. Right? So, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 13. All right? We're going to start at verse 1. It says, and it came to pass, after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, okay, that it moved all the waves thereof, all right? And that wind, okay, is that chariot coming out from the what? The Shemayim, okay? That sea. Let's talk about the Shemayim in the heaven, okay? Verse 3 says, and I beheld, right? Ezra saw him, and lo, that man waxed strong. Okay, who's that man? That's Yahweh Shai. Okay, pulling up in that chariot, right? That white horse, that cloud. All right, and as you've seen on the right side, there was a cloud with a chariot in it. Okay, and it says what? With the thousands of heaven. Psalm 68 and 17, right? The Lord's chariots is 20,000, even the thousands, right? Right? That's all those angels that are going to be with Yahweh Shai. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Okay? See that? Why? Because they ain't know. These people, the low-level people in the military, they don't understand what's going on. The elites do. This is why they keep watching, right? They got their prognosticators, okay, their wizards, trying to counsel them on the left-hand side of what they should do. But they know what's going on. But you see, you people are going to tremble because this is going to catch you by surprise, all right? You either didn't believe that there was so-called UFOs, and if you did believe, you thought they were just green men. You're going to be caught by surprise when you see Yahweh Shai and those angels coming. You're going to have a bigger problem than green men and gray men or Anunnakis or lizard people. You got a bigger problem in your hands. And you're talking about the military shot down UFOs. Why don't you show some proof? Because you're a goddamn liar. Right? These chariots are indestructible. All right? None of your bullets or missiles could catch, right, one of these chariots. And if they do, all right, that trajectory is going to get decimated on contact. All right? You have no weapon, right, on this damn earth that could harm any of these chariots. Okay? So it says in verse 4, and whensoever, Salakia, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. Right? Because the Lord is going to be commanding, right? These chariots, all right, are in sync with the spirit of whoever's driving it. And that's spoken about in Ezekiel chapter 1. Okay? So the Lord's going to be commanding, right, the chariot with these concentrated laser beams to be destroying wherever he commands it to destroy, right? And it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. All right, and these are all these nations that are going to be in the middle of World War III fighting against each other. They're going to stop and see a greater threat and get together, all right, to try to take him out, all right? But let's see what happens. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. Hold up. So you really think that the Lord is going to come like on a Mount Rushmore or something like that, flying upon it? This is symbolic, all right? This is what Ezra's could describe it as, because he didn't understand. All right. So Yahweh Shai was on this great mountain, all right, the fathership, and flew upon it. Right. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. Okay, so I always bring up this example. If you look at the first movie of Independence Day, right? You see that ship casted a huge shadow, right, over the earth. The fathership, it was so big. Okay? So this is how Ezra is explaining how big it was. He could not see, right, the regional place whereout the hill was graven. Okay? Verse 8, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. Right. Because they're going to be like, hey, man, whatever the hell this is, we got no chance. Okay? But they're going to see it as a threat. So they're going to have to fight. And the Lord's going to put the spirit in them to fight. All right? And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. Right. So that's why in verse 4, it said, whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, because he's going to be commanding the weapons on these chariots, right, to do all the fighting. Okay? But only I saw that he went out of his mouth, that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Okay, you see? So the Lord's going to make a quick work of these militaries. Okay? Especially Esau, right? Which consists of the EU and NATO. All right? The Lord said what? Within an hour. Okay? He's going to destroy this place in an hour, along with the military. Okay? He's going to make quick work. You see? So this is what we are witnessing. All right? All according to prophecy, which everybody else outside of this council, okay, cannot receive. All right? Only the prophets. All right? And as the scripture says, right? The spirits of the prophets is subject unto the prophets. All right? So the prophets are back, and only the prophets are going to receive the mysteries of the kingdom. That's why Yahweh Shai also said, the mysteries of the kingdom are given unto you and not to them. All right? This is why a lot of people, this is far-fetched. A lot of people look at us like we're crazy, we're bugged out. But we're looking at you the same way. All right? Because in reality, you're the one that's believing in a fairy tale. All right? You're the one caught up in the Wizard of Oz, okay, looking for the wizard. All right? Because you need answers. You don't have answers. Okay? Matter of fact, I like to compare America, and for that, the rest of the earth, because they're all drunk off the Babylonian juice. I like to compare them as, this being Alice in the Wonderland. Okay? You could believe in whatever you want and bring it to reality in your mind. Okay? Speak upon it. All right? And make people believe in the bullshit. But this is all part of the walk, whether you're on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And the Wada Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai, He has given us the mystery to understand these things that are coming. And up to this day, prepare ourselves, all right, to hope, right? To hope, because we can't be 100% sure, but to hope that one of those chariots is going to pick us up, right, before the destruction, okay? This is our way of salvation. That's why destruction is synonymous with salvation, okay? Because as this place is getting destroyed, the elect will be being beamed up into those chariots, which you call UFOs, all right? And that's a big mystery to the other people, right? Even to the 2/3, okay? That's why this is the strangeness of His salvation. All right? And this mystery, okay, is going to stay a mystery to everybody until that day comes. All right? So let me close out, all right, with the book of Amos, chapter 3 and verse 7. And it reads, surely the Lord, Yahweh, will do nothing, but He revealeth His secret unto His servants, the prophets. All right? And this is why you Christians don't talk about this. This is why your stupid-ass pastors don't talk about this. All right? This is why that goddamn giant gerbil, okay, Vocab Malone, all right, does not touch on these subjects because he's not a prophet of the Lord. He doesn't understand what's going on, all right? And that's why he has to try to pull you down, okay, to that ABC bullshit, right, that he teaches, okay? And what he teaches isn't even 1 + 1, because 1 + 1 is 2. What he teaches is 1 + 1 is 3, because none of his shit makes sense. And he can't make it make sense with the scriptures, okay? He can only make it make sense to the undesired, those that are not in the inner circle, okay? So what you're witnessing is heaven's army getting ready, all right, to battle these heathen nations, starting with Esau, Edom, all right? So, Lord willing, this was edifying. And with that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching us this truth. And I want to say shalom to the brothers and sisters that are in this truth. Shalom. Abba, Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.